I never thought the man I married would betray me like this, especially not with my own sister. It started with small things: late-night phone calls, whispers between them, stolen glances. I ignored the signs until the night I walked into our bedroom and found them together. The worst part, they didn't even look surprised to see me, like they were waiting for me to find out. I always believed I had the perfect marriage. Ethan and I were together for 6 years, married for 3. He was everything I thought I wanted: charming, successful, and devoted. At least, that's what I told myself. I met him at a friend's engagement party. He wasn't the best-looking guy in the room, but there was something about his confidence, the way he spoke, the way he made me laugh, that drew me in. We clicked instantly. Our love story felt effortless: late-night talks, spontaneous road trips, Sunday morning coffee in bed. It felt real. It felt right. After we got married, life fell into place like a perfectly planned puzzle. We bought a beautiful home in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind with white picket fences and friendly neighbors who waved when you walked by. I decorated every corner of that house, choosing each color, each piece of furniture, believing it would be the home where we'd raise a family one day. And then there was my younger sister, Claire. She was the wild one, the free spirit who never settled in one place for too long. While I built a life of stability, she was always chasing the next thrill: new cities, new jobs, new men. She was everything I was. Still, we were close. At least I thought we were. Claire would crash at our house whenever she was in town. Ethan was always welcoming, always polite. I never thought twice about the way he talked to her, the way he laughed a little too hard at her jokes, the way his eyes lingered on her when he thought I wasn't looking. Looking back, the signs were there. The subtle shift in his affection, the way he started staying late at work, how his phone was always face down on the table. I ignored it all. Because when you love someone, you convince yourself they could never betray you. But love can make you blind. And I was blind, deaf, and utterly naive. Until the night I found them together. I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there, staring me in the face. But when you trust someone, when you've built a life with them, you ignore the things you don't want to believe. It started with small things. Ethan became distant, distracted. He wasn't the same man who used to pull me close while cooking dinner or leave little notes in my purse before work. His phone, once left casually on the nightstand, was now always in his pocket. He started staying late at work more often, missing dinner, coming home smelling freshly showered. I asked him once, half-jokingly, "Got a secret second wife I should know about?" He laughed, but it felt forced. "Just work, babe, you know how it is." I wanted to believe him. I needed to. Then there was Claire. She started coming around more than usual. At first, it made sense. She had just moved back to town, looking for a new job, figuring things out. I welcomed her like always, happy to have my sister close again. But something felt off. I'd walk into a room, and they'd be talking in hushed tones. Conversations would stop the second I entered. They exchanged looks, quick, unreadable glances that sent a strange chill down my spine. One night, I woke up to find Ethan wasn't in bed. I walked downstairs, expecting to see him in the kitchen getting water or watching TV. Instead, I saw him and Claire on the back porch, whispering. She was wrapped in one of his hoodies, and he was standing too close. Way too close. I should have said something, should have confronted them right then and there. But instead, I told myself I was overreacting, that I was being paranoid. Then came the text message. Ethan had left his phone on the bathroom counter while he showered. It buzzed once, then again, and again. I glanced at the screen, my heart stopping cold. Claire's name, a message preview that read, "I miss you already, can't wait for the next time." The next time. My hands shook as I picked up his phone, my pulse hammering in my ears. I knew if I opened it, my entire world could change. But deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to face it yet. I should have confronted him that night. I should have screamed, thrown his phone at him, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I did something worse. I put his phone down, walked back to bed, and pretended everything was normal. Because if I acknowledged it, it would be real. And I wasn't ready for my world to collapse. But once you've seen the cracks, you can't unsee them. The next morning, Claire acted like nothing was wrong. She sat at the kitchen island, sipping coffee, scrolling through her phone, her face completely relaxed, like she wasn't sending secret messages to my husband in the middle of the night. Ethan came downstairs minutes later, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek, his fingers lingering on my waist just a second too long, as if to prove something. Claire barely looked up. I watched them closely that morning. The way he pulled out a chair for her at the dining table but never did for me. The way she laughed, a little too hard at his jokes. The way he glanced at her from the corner of his eye. I wanted to believe I was imagining it, that I was being crazy, jealous, insecure. But then it got worse. The touches became bolder. One afternoon, I walked into the living room and found them on the couch. Claire was stretching, her shirt lifting slightly, exposing the soft skin of her stomach. Ethan's eyes flickered there, just for a second, but long enough. She noticed, of course she noticed, and she smirked. The air between them was thick, charged with something I couldn't ignore anymore. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the counter. What are you guys talking about? Claire looked at me over her shoulder, completely unfazed, just reminiscing about old times. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. Yeah, Claire was just telling me about that trip she took to Greece. Sounds amazing. I forced a smile. Oh, funny, she never mentioned that to me. Claire tilted her head. Maybe you weren't listening. My stomach twisted. I knew what she was doing. And worse, I knew what he was letting happen. Then came the ultimate betrayal. One night, Ethan had a work trip. Just a 2-day thing. Last minute, he barely packed, just shoved a few things into his bag and kissed me goodbye. That night, Claire didn't come home. Her car wasn't in the driveway. She wasn't answering her phone. I called her 3 times, no answer. I didn't sleep. I laid awake in our bed, alone, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding. The next morning, Claire strolled in like nothing had happened. Hair messy, yesterday's eyeliner smudged, wearing a hoodie that wasn't hers. Ethan's hoodie. Something inside me snapped. Where were you? I asked, my voice sharp. She barely glanced at me as she poured herself coffee. Out. With who? A slow smile spread across her lips as she stirred sugar into her cup. Why do you care? I took a step closer. My hands were shaking, because I know Claire. She finally looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time she didn't even bother lying. She just took a slow sip of her coffee and smirked. Then, I guess you finally figured out what everyone else already knew. My world went dark. My hands were trembling as I gripped the counter. Claire's words echoed in my head. What everyone else already knew. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the walls of my perfect life were closing in. Say it, I whispered, my voice barely holding together. Say it to my face. Claire didn't even hesitate. She set her coffee down, crossed her arms, and met my eyes without a single trace of guilt. I'm sleeping with Ethan. Just like that, no hesitation, no shame. I felt like I was going to be sick. The worst part, she didn't even look sorry. She looked smug, like she had won some twisted competition I didn't even know I was playing. How long? My voice was hoarse. She shrugged, brushing her hair over her shoulder. Does it matter? I lost it. Before I could stop myself, I grabbed the coffee cup and hurled it across the kitchen. It shattered against the wall, dark liquid dripping down the cabinets. Claire barely flinched. You're disgusting, I spat. You're my sister. She rolled her eyes, and yet he still chose me. I lunged at her. I wanted to slap that smug look off her face, but before I could, the front door opened. Ethan! He walked in, duffel bag over his shoulder, and immediately froze. His eyes darted from Claire to the broken coffee cup to my shaking hands. He knew. He knew I knew. For a second, none of us spoke. The house was silent except for the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. Then I let out a shaky breath. Tell me the truth. Ethan swallowed hard, running a hand through his hair. His wedding ring glinted under the kitchen lights. "It's not what you think." I laughed, actually laughed. The sound was hollow, bitter. "Oh, really? Because I think you've been screwing my sister behind my back." Claire smirked again. "Actually, not always behind your back." Something in me snapped. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a plate, and threw it. Ethan dodged it just in time. "Jesus, Liz, calm down." "Calm down," I screamed. "You slept with my sister, you threw away our marriage, our life for—" I turned to Claire, disgusted. "For what? A cheap thrill." Ethan's face twisted in frustration. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" My voice cracked. Claire leaned against the counter, watching us like she was enjoying the show. Ethan exhaled, rubbing his temples. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "The oldest excuse in the book." I scoffed. "You didn't mean to. What, did you trip and fall into bed with her?" Silence. And then, he said the words that shattered me completely. "I love her." The world tilted. I felt like I was falling, but there was nowhere to land. Claire was grinning now, slow and victorious, like she had finally won. I stared at the man I had built my life with, the man I had trusted, the man I had defended, sacrificed for, loved. And I realized, he had never been mine to begin with. Tears blurred my vision. "How long?" Ethan hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. 2 years. I sucked in a breath like I'd been punched. 2 years. Our entire marriage was a joke, a lie. I felt something inside me break. I wiped my tears away, refusing to let them see me cry. I took a deep, shaky breath and stepped back. "You deserve each other," I said finally, my voice cold, detached. I turned on my heel and walked away. Ethan called after me, something about talking, explaining, but I didn't stop. Because there was nothing left to say. I don't remember walking up the stairs. I don't remember packing my bag. I just remember the numbness. The way my hands moved on autopilot, shoving clothes into a suitcase, my mind refusing to process what had just happened. Downstairs, I could hear them talking, whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but I didn't need to. They had already said enough. Ethan didn't even come after me. That hurt the most. I wanted him to fight for me, to say he made a mistake, to beg me to stay, to choose me. But he didn't. And that told me everything. I drove aimlessly for hours, my vision blurred with unshed tears. Where do you go when your home isn't yours anymore? I thought about calling a friend, but who? Claire had been my best friend, my sister, the one I told everything to. And now? Now she was the reason I had nowhere to go. I ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering neon lights and scratchy sheets. It felt fitting, like I had been downgraded to a life I never saw coming. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every moment of my marriage. The late nights, the whispered phone calls, the little lies disguised as love. How long had I been the fool? The realization hit me like a truck. This wasn't just about Ethan. Claire had been competing with me our whole lives, and I never even noticed. The divorce papers came 3 weeks later. No explanation, no apology, just cold, impersonal documents asking for my signature. Ethan didn't even have the decency to serve them himself. He had Claire do it. She showed up at my motel, wearing his hoodie. She tossed the envelope onto the bed with a smirk. "It's for the best, don't you think?" I stared at her, at the woman I had once trusted with my life. "You'll never be happy," I said quietly. Claire scoffed. "Oh, please, I already am." I smiled then. For the first time in weeks, I actually smiled. Because I knew something she didn't. She won the man, but she lost her soul in the process. And one day, Ethan would betray her too. Because a man who cheats with you will eventually cheat on you. And when that day came, she would finally understand what she had done. But by then, I wouldn't care. It took me months to feel human again. At first, I was drowning in anger. I wanted revenge. I wanted them to suffer. I fantasized about exposing them, telling the world exactly what they had done. But what would that change? Would it undo the betrayal? Would it make me whole again? No. So instead, I chose to disappear. I blocked their numbers, deleted every picture of Ethan from my phone, moved out of town and found a small apartment by the coast, far from the memories, far from them. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone. And strangely, it felt like freedom. One day, I got a text from an unknown number. Ethan. I messed up. I stared at the message for a long time. I could have ignored it, I should have. But curiosity won. How's Claire? I typed back. A few minutes passed before his response came through. She's not you. I laughed, actually laughed. Of course, she wasn't me, she never would be. Because while she spent her life trying to take what I had, she never realized. She could never replace me. And now, she was stuck with the man she stole. I deleted the text, I didn't need closure. I already had it. So what did I learn? That love isn't just about passion, about comfort, about history. It's about respect. And the moment someone betrays you, they don't deserve a second chance. Some wounds don't heal, and some people don't change. But me. I did. I walked away. I started over. I became someone who doesn't beg for love, who doesn't settle for less than she deserves. And if I could go back and tell my past self one thing, it would be this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you have fought for your marriage, or walked away the moment you saw the red flags? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories filled with betrayal, secrets, and shocking twists, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because trust me, the next story, it's even crazier.